You shouldn't have come back alone. The voice was low, controlled, and instantly familiar in a way that made Sloane Porter's pulse spike. She looked up across her father's hospital suite and found Kwon Ji-wook watching her like he'd been there all along. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in black that looked less like fashion and more like uniform. The kind of man who didn't raise his voice because the world already listened. He was colder than she remembered. More dangerous. More real. The strip glittered beyond the windows, loud and careless, but the room itself had gone still. Even the men standing near the door straightened without realizing why. Sloane swallowed. I didn't know I needed an escort. His gaze didn't leave her. In this city, he said quietly, you always do. They had been promised to each other as children to prevent a Vegas war. A secret agreement buried beneath blood and casinos and men who never forgot a debt. She had run from it. Ji-wook had become it. And now Vegas knew she was back. 48 hours earlier. The emergency call came at 3 in the morning. Sloane Porter knew before she answered that everything had changed. Her father was dying. And now she stood in the executive wing of Sunrise Medical Center, the polished marble floor reflecting her fractured image back at her. The place smelled like antiseptic and money, leather, cologne, the sterile chill of wealth. Her phone vibrated in her hand. I'm here. Where is he? 5 years. That's how long she'd been gone. 5 years building a quiet life in Santa Fe. Teaching art history. Drinking burnt coffee in faculty lounges. Pretending she wasn't the only heir to the Royal Spade, the most powerful black-owned casino on the Las Vegas Strip. 5 years running from blood, neon, and legacy. The elevator doors slid open. 2 men in dark suits stood outside her father's private suite. Security. They nodded at her with practiced respect. They knew exactly who she was. Inside, the lights were low. Lewis Porter lay in the hospital bed, tubes and monitors reducing the man who once ruled Vegas to something frighteningly still. Machines beeped steadily, measuring time in heartbeats. Someone else was already in the room. Dante Morrison sat in the chair beside the bed, tablet in hand, tailored suit immaculate. He looked up as she entered. Sloane, he said, standing smoothly. Finally. She ignored him and went straight to her father. What happened? She asked, fingers carefully closing around Lewis's hand. Stroke, Dante said. Massive. He's stable, but sedated. Doctors say. There may be lasting effects. She didn't react. She'd been raised better than that. I want to speak to his doctors, she said. I want the care plan. I want. Already handled, Dante interrupted. The best neurologists in the country. Everything that can be done is being done. There it was. The quiet takeover dressed as help. What we need to discuss now, Dante continued, is the casino. The board is concerned about leadership continuity. I'm here now, Sloane said. Something sharp flickered across his face. Of course, he said carefully. But you've been gone a long time. Things have changed. Before she could respond, the air shifted. Not a sound. A presence. Security outside straightened. Dante's jaw tightened. A man filled the doorway. Kwon Ji-wook. Time stalled. He was taller than she remembered. Broader. Built with deliberate precision. A black suit cut perfectly over muscle, tattoos creeping up his neck like a warning. His face was hard and beautiful in a way that made people stop breathing. His eyes found hers. 7 years collapsed into nothing. She was 15 again, hiding in a reinforced bunker beneath the Royal Spade while gunfire rattled above them. His hand wrapped around hers in the dark. His voice steady, telling her stories so she wouldn't hear the war. A promise made too young. A promise she ran from. He didn't look away. Sloane, he said. Just her name. Her spine straightened. Ji-wook. Dante stepped forward. This is a private family matter. Ji-wook didn't even glance at him. You shouldn't have come back alone, Ji-wook said to her. The words were calm. The meaning was not. I didn't expect to see you here, she said. You didn't expect many things, he replied. Dante cut in again. She has support. The board. You, Ji-wook said, finally looking at him. The man who stepped into her place the moment she left. Lewis Porter's trusted right hand. His eyes hardened. Convenient timing. The accusation hung heavy. Ji-wook moved to Lewis's bedside, gaze unreadable. He deserves better, Ji-wook said quietly, than having his legacy stolen while he fights for his life. No one is stealing anything, Dante snapped. Ji-wook smiled. It wasn't friendly. Then you won't mind the additional security I'm placing on the casino, he said. And on Sloane. I don't need, Sloane started. Ji-wook turned to her. Up close, the intensity was unbearable. Heat. Control. Something feral held tightly in check. You left, he said softly. You don't know who to trust anymore. And I should trust you? A flicker of something like pain crossed his face, gone as quickly as it appeared. You shouldn't have to trust anyone, he said. You should be safe. Her phone buzzed. Then Dante's. Then alarms flared on the monitor beside her father's bed. Dante checked his screen. His face went pale. There's been a fire, he said. At the Royal Spade. High roller vault. Her stomach dropped. That vault holds irreplaceable records, Sloane said. Contained, Dante added quickly. I'll handle it. No, she said. That's my casino. She turned to leave. Ji-wook's hand closed around her wrist. Firm. Controlled. Unyielding. Let go, she said. Not yet. He stepped closer. Someone wanted you back in Vegas. Your father's stroke. This fire. None of it is coincidence. You don't know that. I always know. His thumb brushed her pulse. You came back alone, he said. That was a mistake. I am not yours, she said. His smile was slow. Dark. Keep telling yourself that, he said. Maybe one day you'll believe it. He released her. Go, he said. But understand this, wherever you are, I'll be watching. She left the room shaking. She had come back to save her father. She hadn't expected to confront the man she'd spent 5 years trying to forget. The man who still believed she belonged to him. The Royal Spade rose against the Vegas night like a crown made of light. Gold and deep purple burned across its Art Deco facade, royalty colors. Porter colors. Sloane's throat tightened as the car pulled up to the valet stand. She had sworn she would never return to this place. Never walk these floors again. Never breathe this air. But here she was. The casino still glowed. Still thrummed with life. Only the smell told the truth. Burned paper. Melted plastic. Ash where luxury should have been. The fire had been contained to a single vault room, but the damage reached farther than the walls. Security footage shows an electrical short. Old wiring. The building's due for infrastructure updates. Sloane crouched near the wreckage. Her fingers hovered over what remained of her grandfather's original business license. 70 years of history, reduced to ash. This room was renovated 6 months ago, she said quietly. My father sent me photos. Everything was state-of-the-art. A pause. I'll look into it. Sloane stood and brushed soot from her hands. You do that. The night blurred into pressure. Department heads. Security briefings. Board members watching her like she was a temporary inconvenience. Sloane answered every question. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't flinch. By the time she reached her father's executive office, dawn was breaking over the desert, painting the strip in rose and gold. The room hadn't changed. Dark wood. Leather chairs. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Her father's presence lingered everywhere. Sloane sank into his chair and let herself feel the weight of it, just for one breath. The knock came sharp. Come in. The door opened. Ji-wook stepped inside. The room felt smaller instantly. He'd changed clothes, dark slacks, charcoal shirt, sleeves unbuttoned at the wrist. Ink disappeared beneath his collar. Power sat easy in his posture. He set 2 coffees on the desk. A white paper bag beside them. You haven't eaten. How did you get up here? Security should have stopped you. Security works for me now. Her spine stiffened. I bought out your father's private contract this morning. Sloane didn't thank him. The help felt too close to control. You can't just take control like that. I can. I did. He nudged one cup toward her. Vanilla latte. Extra shot. No sugar. The fact that he remembered hit harder than it should have. She took a sip. Perfect. Worse than wrong. Why are you here, Ji-wook? Because you are. The simplicity of it sent heat curling low in her stomach. She opened the bag and pulled out a croissant, still warm. Butter and almond paste melted on her tongue. A soft sound escaped her before she could stop it. His eyes darkened. 4th Street. That French bakery. She swallowed. You made me go every Sunday. We were kids. We were never really kids. Tell me what happened. An electrical short. An accident. You don't believe that. I don't know what I believe. Dante is a snake. He's been running this place for 2 years. Profits are up. And he's been positioning himself since the day you left. She stood, needing space. Even if you're right, what am I supposed to do? I don't want this life. Then why are you still here? The question hit her harder than she expected. She didn't have an answer. I don't know. Ji-wook stepped closer. I'll make it simple. His fingers tipped her chin up, gentle, controlled. You can leave Vegas now. I'll keep you safe, and far from all of this. And the other option? You stay. You fight. And you let me stand with you. I don't owe you anything. I owe you everything. His thumb brushed her lower lip. You were the only soft thing in my childhood. Everything else was knives. She opened her mouth to respond. The office door burst open. There's a situation on the casino floor. Who? Chun-wei. He's down 3 million and accusing the house of cheating. Ji-wook's expression went flat. He works with the Zhao family. Ji-wook didn't look at him. Dante scoffed. He's a drunk gambler. The Zhaos don't do anything by accident. Ji-wook looked at Sloane. Your father kept them out of Vegas for a reason. Then we'll handle it, Dante said sharply. Ji-wook smiled without warmth. Yes, we will. The casino floor buzzed with tension. Phones were already raised. They're cheating. Chun shouted. This whole place is rigged. Sloane stepped forward. Mr. Chun. I'm Sloane Porter. If you have concerns, we can discuss them in private. The daughter returns, he sneered. How convenient. I want my money back. 3 million. Or I go public. Extortion. Clear as day. Before she could answer, Ji-wook stepped between them. You're confused. I'm not confused. You are confused about where you are. And who you're threatening. This is a free country. You can leave with your dignity intact, Ji-wook said calmly. Or you can keep making a scene and learn what happens to people who threaten what's mine. The word mine landed heavy. Chen's confidence cracked. This isn't over. Yes, Ji-wook said pleasantly. It is. Security escorted Chen away. The crowd dispersed, already posting. Sloane stood still, aware of every eye on her. We need to talk, she said quietly. Your office. Dante caught them near the elevator. That was reckless. You can't threaten high rollers. How did Chun-wei know Sloane was back in Vegas? Information travels fast. It does, Ji-wook agreed. So information about who leaked it will travel fast too. Are you accusing me of something? I'm reminding you of something. Ji-wook's gaze hardened. Sloane Porter is under my protection now. The warning was unmistakable. The elevator doors opened. Dante's mask slipped just long enough for Sloane to see it. Fury. And fear. You can't claim me like property. Ji-wook backed her against the elevator wall without touching her. Tell me to stop. Ji-wook said quietly. She couldn't. Tell me you don't want my protection. Her pulse thundered. Tell me you don't feel this. Ji-wook. We were never children, he said quietly. We were survivors. His fingers brushed her cheek. And then you left. I had to. I know. The elevator chimed. Her phone buzzed. Once. Twice. Again. Her blood turned cold. It's my father. Go. I'll drive. The ICU was controlled chaos. Monitors beeped. Nurses moved fast. Sloane pushed into the room. Her father was awake. Sitting up. Breathing. Baby girl. She broke. Then his grip tightened. You can't trust Dante. Sloane froze. What do you mean? I was poisoned, Lewis whispered. Slow. Over months. I've been waiting to tell you. The room went silent. He's working with the Zhao family. I heard him. I recorded it. Where? My private server. The bunker. You know the codes. She nodded. I'll find it. Lewis's eyes moved between her and Ji-wook. You too. Stop pretending. The door opened again. Lewis. Thank God you're awake. Get out. I've been taking care of everything. Betraying me. The doctor stepped in. Everyone out. Now. Sloane kissed her father's forehead. I've got this. I know you do, baby girl. His eyes found Ji-wook. Take care of her. Always. You're suspended, Sloane said in the hallway. Effective immediately. The board. Answers to my father. You ran away from this life, Dante sneered. You can't handle it. Sloane met his gaze. Maybe not alone. Ji-wook stepped beside her. Dante's face went pale. He muttered, almost to himself. She won't be a problem much longer. What did you say? Sloane asked. Ji-wook didn't look at Sloane. He looked at a threat. Ji-wook moved. Fast. Dante hit the wall. Ji-wook's hand closed around his throat. Say it again. Security rushed in. Dante was dragged away, screaming. Sloane's knees buckled the moment he was gone. Ji-wook caught her and guided her into a quiet room. Breathe. In. Out. My father was poisoned, she whispered. And I wasn't here. This is not your fault. I left him. You left to save yourself. She looked up at him. I blamed you, he admitted softly. And then I forgave you. Every night. But you came back. He stood and pulled her with him. We go to the bunker. We get the recording. We burn them. And after. He slid a hand into her hair, tilting her head back just enough. Then you decide. What are you offering? Everything. Power. Protection. Partnership. And possession. That's not love. No. His mouth claimed hers. Hot. Controlled. Inevitable. When he pulled back, both of them were breathing hard. The bunker, she said. Yes. And from this moment forward, Ji-wook said quietly, anyone who wants to hurt you goes through me first. He wasn't offering. He was stating fact. I can take care of myself. I know, he said. But you don't have to anymore. The entrance to the bunker was hidden behind a false wall in her father's private study. Sloane stood before it, heart hammering, fingers hovering over the keypad. The codes changed with the phases of the moon. Her father's paranoia, refined into habit. Her hands trembled as she keyed in the sequence. Muscle memory guided her through numbers she hadn't typed in 7 years. The wall slid open with a low pneumatic hiss. A stairwell descended into reinforced darkness. Ji-wook went first. Alert. Controlled. One hand resting beneath his jacket on something Sloane refused to think too hard about. Motion sensor lights flickered on as they descended, illuminating concrete walls thick enough to survive war. The bunker opened up beneath them. Exactly as she remembered. A command center. A safe house. A prison. Old computer equipment. Filing cabinets. A wall of monitors feeding security footage from across the casino. And in the corner. The alcove. Small. Reinforced. The place where 2 children had spent endless hours huddled together while their fathers negotiated peace upstairs. Ji-wook's gaze found it too. I haven't been down here since you left. Why not? Because it hurt. Simple. Honest. Devastating. Everything down here reminded me of you. Sloane swallowed hard and forced herself to move. She crossed to the main terminal and powered it on. He said it would be in his private files, she murmured. Dated around here. She clicked. The screen filled with her father's face. Younger. Healthier. The camera angle was wrong, hidden. Secret. Dante's voice came from off-screen. Louis, you're being unreasonable. The Zhao family's offer is generous. You could retire. Spend time with Sloane. Her father's voice cut in, sharp as steel. While you hand everything I built to the same family that tried to destroy us in '08? A pause. Raymond Zhao put a hit on my wife, Louis continued. He's the reason Sloane grew up without a mother. Sloane's breath left her body. Her hand flew to her mouth. A car accident. That's what she'd been told. Ji-wook's hand came down on her shoulder, steadying her. On screen, Dante sounded smooth. Polished. That was business, Louis. Ancient history. This is about the future. The future of my legacy, her father said. The legacy you want to sell. Your daughter isn't coming back. Someone has to think about succession. She'll come back when she's ready. She left 7 years ago, Dante snapped. This isn't a world for soft little girls playing at art history. Sloane flinched. She doesn't have what it takes. Her father's reply was quiet. She has everything it takes. The video ended. Silence pressed down hard. He's been planning this for years, Ji-wook said calmly. Waiting. Sloane opened more files. Money transfers. Offshore accounts. Emails between Dante and Raymond Zhao. Then medical records. Prescriptions that didn't belong together. Drugs that mimicked cognitive decline. He poisoned him, she whispered. Slowly. On purpose. Ji-wook pulled up security footage. Dante. In the vault. Installing equipment hours before the fire. Incendiary, Ji-wook said. Timed. Designed to destroy evidence and rattle you. Her hands curled into fists. All of it, she said. The illness. The fire. Chun-wei. Everything. We can destroy him, Ji-wook said. Quietly. No. Sloane straightened. We do this publicly. On the casino floor. In front of everyone. Ji-wook smiled. That's my girl. They emerged from the bunker as dawn broke again over Vegas. Another sleepless night. Another war begun. Her phone buzzed. Her father was stable. Resting. Stronger already. Relief crashed through her. We call an emergency board meeting, she said. Dante too. He'll run. Not if he thinks he's winning. Ji-wook squeezed her hand once. You're terrifying when you're angry. Only you see this side of me. The boardroom filled by 10, 12 powerful people. Dangerous in different ways. Dante sat at the head of the table. In her father's chair. Sloane smiled. Thank you all for coming. Today, we resolve the uncertainty around leadership. By announcing your departure? Dante asked kindly. But I'm staying, she said. And you're going to prison. Silence. She played the files. Video. Emails. Medical records. The room erupted. Dante stood. This is manipulation, he said sharply. You're being used. His eyes cut to Ji-wook. The Kwons have always wanted control. Actually, Ji-wook said pleasantly, I already have control. Heads turned. The betrothal between myself and Sloane Porter is a binding legal contract, he continued. Our assets have been jointly held in trust since she turned 18. Sloane froze. What? Dante let out a short, bitter laugh. You ran before your father explained it, he said. You can't inherit the royal spade outright without marrying him. If you refuse, control transfers through the trust anyway. The room erupted in murmurs. One of the board members, a lawyer, spoke up reluctantly. It's legal. The contract has been reviewed multiple times. It's enforceable. Sloane turned slowly toward Ji-wook. You knew. His expression didn't change. I knew. And you didn't tell me. I wanted you to stay because you chose to, he said quietly. Not because you were trapped. Her voice shook. So all this time, you let me think I had choices. You do, he said. Just not the ones you deserved. The words hit harder than any shout. Our fathers planned the structure, he continued. I didn't write it. I just honored it. She shook her head, fury and hurt colliding. You're all the same, she said. Using me. Moving me around like a piece on a board. I never treated you like property, he said, stepping closer. But I won't pretend I don't claim you. I am not yours. Before either of them could say more, the security channel crackled. Multiple armed individuals entering through the loading dock. Zhao family confirmed. The room exploded into chaos. Board members shouting. Security moving. Weapons drawn. Dante was already backing toward the emergency exit. I warned you, he said coldly. Now you're alone. Ji-wook ignored him. He grabbed Sloane's hand. We're leaving, he said, already pulling her toward the door. Stay with me. Gunfire echoed somewhere below. Alarms began to scream. They moved fast through the executive corridor, Ji-wook positioning his body between her and every blind corner, every doorway. Almost there. Then a shout. One of Ji-wook's men stumbled back into the hallway, blood on his sleeve. Boss, they breached security. 2 floors down. Ji-wook swore under his breath. He stopped, turned Sloane toward the emergency stairwell. Go straight down, he said, gripping her shoulders. Do not stop. Do not look back. I'm not leaving you. You are, he said sharply. This is not a discussion. He shoved a security card into her hand. I'll catch up. Move. She hesitated, just a second. That second was enough. Ji-wook spun toward the sound of gunfire, already moving, already gone. Sloane ran. Down the corridor. Around the corner. A hand grabbed her arm and yanked her into a side passage. Raymond Zhao smiled at her. Your mother's daughter. You killed her. I removed an obstacle. He pressed a gun into her side. Walk. Shots rang out. Then, chaos. Bodies dropped. Through smoke and screaming, Ji-wook appeared. Free. Armed. Unstoppable. He covered her with his body, returning fire with lethal precision. I told you to run. I did, she gasped. The firefight ended quickly. Zhao was face down on the pavement, Ji-wook's knee in his back, gun pressed to his skull. You should have stayed in San Francisco, Ji-wook said calmly. Security poured in, his people, moving with disciplined speed. Zhao was dragged away, screaming threats that no one listened to. Ji-wook turned to Sloane. You're safe. She stared at him, shaking. This was all planned. Yes. You knew they'd come. I knew they'd try. And if they had killed me? His jaw tightened. They wouldn't have had the chance. The hospital room was quiet in a way that felt earned. Not the frantic quiet of machines and fear, but the low, steady hush of survival. Lewis Porter sat upright in his bed, color returned to his skin, sharp eyes following the news scrolling across his tablet. The strip burned neon beyond the window, restless and alive. Sloane stood at his bedside, arms folded tight across her chest. Come here, baby girl, he said. She did. And for just a moment, only a moment, she let herself fold into him, let herself feel small, let herself breathe in the scent of antiseptic and aftershave and home. I thought I was going to lose you, she said into his shoulder. Lewis exhaled slowly. Not today. She pulled back, studied his face. The man who had built an empire. The man who had arranged her future before she could spell her own name. We need to talk, she said. His mouth curved in something like a rueful smile. I figured. The contract, she said. The betrothal. His gaze didn't waver. Yes. You bound me to him. I bound Vegas to peace, he corrected softly. And you were the price. Her jaw tightened. You don't get to dress that up. I know. His voice roughened. And I've hated myself for it ever since. Silence stretched between them. She fought you, Sloane said. Mom. Yes. His eyes went distant. She said no daughter of hers would be traded like territory. She said if you ever came back here, it had to be because you chose it. Because you chose him. And you ignored her. I listened, Lewis said quietly. And then the Zhaos reminded me what happens when men like me hesitate. Sloane's hands curled into fists. You promised me to a boy, she said, who grew up into something dangerous. Lewis met her gaze without flinching. I promised you to a boy who loved you in bunkers and learned early that love and violence are sometimes the same thing. She swallowed. He never asked for ownership, Lewis continued. Not once. He asked me if you'd hate him when you found out. He asked me if he was allowed to want you. Her breath caught despite herself. And what did you tell him? She asked. I told him the truth, Lewis said. That one day, you'd have the power to decide whether he was worth choosing. Sloane turned away, blinking hard. Dante, she said. What happens to him? Lewis didn't hesitate. What you decide. She nodded once. That was enough. Night fell heavy over the royal spade. Not chaos. Not fire. Control. Dante was escorted out through a private exit just after midnight. No cameras. No shouting. No spectacle. Just two men in dark suits and a single envelope of evidence slid across a table he would never sit at again. He would face charges. Not because the law was righteous, but because Sloane allowed it. Raymond Zhao's people vanished from the strip within 48 hours. No announcement. No retaliation. Just absence. Vegas understood absence. By the time Sloane returned to her father's penthouse office, the city had already adjusted its spine. Ji-wook was waiting. He stood near the window, jacket off, sleeves rolled, hands loose at his sides. Still. Watchful. The kind of stillness that promised violence if invited. She stopped just inside the door. You sent Dante away, he said. I did. You didn't ask me to do it. I didn't need to. A flicker of something, approval maybe, crossed his face. Good, he said. She took a step closer. You knew, she said. About the contract. Yes. You knew it bound me. Yes. You let me believe I had options. I let you live, he said calmly. Without pressure. Without fear. Without me. Her laugh was sharp. Don't pretend that was mercy. He didn't. He stepped closer instead, slow, deliberate, until the air between them felt too thin. I didn't tell you, he said, because once I did, the choice would no longer be clean. Clean, she echoed. You don't do clean. No. His mouth curved. I do honest. Her pulse hammered. Say it, she demanded. Say what you want. His gaze dropped to her mouth. I want you here, he said. In this city. In this life. At my side. I know. I want you powerful, he continued. Feared. Untouchable. I know. I want you to choose me knowing exactly what I am. Her breath stuttered. And what are you? She asked. His voice dropped. A man who would break the world to keep you. Silence. Then she stepped into him. Not a kiss. Not yet. She pressed her palms flat to his chest and felt the restrained force beneath. Heat, control, hunger held on a knife's edge. You don't get to own me, she said. I know. You don't get to cage me. I wouldn't survive it if I tried. You don't get to make decisions for me anymore. His jaw flexed. Agreed. She looked up at him then. Really looked. The danger. The devotion. The darkness that never pretended to be light. Good, she said. Because I'm not choosing you because you're safe. His breath hitched. I'm choosing you because you're honest. Her fingers curled into his shirt. Because you see me, she continued. Not as leverage. Not as legacy. But as someone who can stand in the fire with you. His hand came up, stopping just short of touching her face. Say it, he said, rough now. I'm choosing this life, she said. This city. This power. She closed the distance herself this time, mouth brushing his, not quite a kiss. And I'm choosing you, she whispered. Not because of a contract. Not because of our fathers. Her lips grazed his ear. But because when you look at me like that, she murmured, I feel dangerous too. That did it. He kissed her then, deep, claiming but controlled. No rush. No desperation. Just certainty. His hand slid into her hair, tilting her head back as if he already knew exactly how she liked to be touched. She melted into it. Let herself feel the weight of his attention, the promise of his restraint. When he pulled back, both of them breathing hard, his forehead rested against hers. If you choose me, he said quietly, there is no walking away later. I know. This life isn't clean, he warned. It will demand things from you. She took a breath. Then I'll decide what I give. His gaze sharpened. I won't become someone I hate, she continued. But I won't leave you because you scare me either. Something dark and reverent crossed his face. He dropped to one knee. Not in submission. In acknowledgement. You don't belong to me, he said. You never did. Her heart thudded painfully. But I belong to you, he continued. If you'll have me. As your shield. Your weapon. Your partner. The city waited beyond the glass. Sloane looked down at the man who had loved her since bunkers and war and promises whispered in the dark. Get up, she said. He did. She took his face in her hands. We rule together, she said. Or not at all. His smile was slow. Devastating. Yes, he said. Ma'am. The betrothal contract burned that night. Not in a courtroom. In the bunker. Sloane lit the match herself, watched old ink curl and blacken and turn to ash. Ji-wook stood behind her, close but not touching, letting her decide what mattered. She didn't look at him when she spoke. I don't need it, she said. I know. But I'm not rejecting it either. That got his attention. She turned then. Held his gaze. We write our own terms, she said. Equal power. No secrets. No pretending this is anything but what it is. And what is it? He asked. She smiled, sharp and sure. A kingdom. He bowed his head. Weeks later, Sloane Porter took her father's chair. No announcement. No ceremony. Just a meeting that ended with everyone in the room understanding exactly who was in charge. Ji-wook stood at her right hand. Not behind her. Never behind. Vegas adjusted. It always did. And late at night, when the strip glowed and the world felt held in her grasp, Sloane would stand at the window with Ji-wook's hands on her hips, his mouth warm at her throat, and think. This is who I was meant to be. Not safe. Not hidden. Chosen. And choosing. The strip was quiet in the early morning hours, that rare lull when Vegas seemed to exhale. Sloane stood barefoot on the balcony of the penthouse, silk robe loose around her shoulders, the city stretching out below like a living thing that knew her name now. Neon still burned, but softer. Obedient. Behind her, the doors slid open. Ji-wook didn't speak at first. He never did when he was watching her like this, when she looked too much like a dream he still didn't quite trust. He crossed the room quietly and wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin resting against her shoulder. You're awake, he murmured. I didn't want to miss it, she said, leaning back into him. The city changes at this hour. It feels honest. He smiled against her skin. It's the only time it isn't lying to itself. She turned in his arms, looking up at him. He was softer like this, no suit, no armor, just a man who knew her favorite hour of the night and exactly how she took her coffee in the morning. You stayed, he said quietly. I chose, she corrected, reaching up to trace the faint scar along his jaw. Every day. I still do. His hand stilled at her waist, thumb pressing just slightly as if grounding himself. And you don't regret it? She laughed softly. I run a casino empire. I argue with board members twice my age. I make decisions that scare people. Her eyes shone. I've never felt more like myself. He searched her face, as if still half expecting her to vanish. And me? He asked, voice low. Do you ever regret choosing me? She didn't answer with words. Instead, she pulled him down into a kiss, slow, familiar, deeply certain. Not fire this time, but warmth. Home. When she pulled back, her forehead rested against his. I regret the years we lost, she said honestly. But not a single second of what we have now. Something eased in him then, something that had been coiled tight since childhood. The ceremony was small. No press. No spectacle. Just the bunker restored and transformed, not a place of fear anymore, but foundation. Concrete softened with warm light. The past acknowledged, not erased. Lewis Porter sat in the front row, cane resting between his hands, eyes bright and proud. Sloane wore ivory silk, simple and elegant, no crown but the quiet authority she carried everywhere now. Ji-wook stood across from her in black, eyes never leaving her face, like the world had narrowed down to this single point in time. There were no vows written by lawyers. Only promises spoken low and steady. "I choose you," Sloane said, voice sure. "In power and in peace. In the light and in the dark. Not because I was promised, but because I want you." Ji-wook swallowed hard before answering. "I choose you," he said, "as my equal. My home. My future. Not to protect you from the world, but to stand beside you in it." When he slid the ring onto her finger, his hands shook just a little. She noticed. She loved that. Later, much later, they lay tangled together beneath clean sheets, the city a distant glow beyond the windows. Sloane traced idle patterns across his chest. "You know," she said, smiling, "we could have been very boring people." He huffed a quiet laugh. "I tried boring once. It didn't suit me." She shifted, resting her head over his heart. "And this?" she asked. "The danger. The power. The responsibility." He kissed the top of her head. "It only works," he said, "because it's you." She closed her eyes. For the first time in her life, the future didn't feel like a threat or an obligation. It felt like a promise. Chosen. Shared. Unbreakable. And in the city that never slept, beneath neon crowns and whispered legends, Sloane Porter and Kwon Ji-wook built a life that was powerful, passionate, and, finally, peaceful.